Joining us now is former CDC Director Dr. Tom Frieden. Dr. Frieden, it's great to have you here. As we understand, pauses are very common when it comes to these trials, and we should, in fact, potentially applaud these companies for putting safety first and not skipping anything when it comes to rushing these vaccines or these treatments. How then do you read the news? Obviously, both of them are watched very carefully here in the fight against COVID.
Right. I think you've really hit the nail on the head. It's kind of paradoxical, but actually it's reassuring because we expect to see signals that may not indicate a problem, and we expect to see companies stopping so they can look carefully. So it gives reassurance that we're not cutting corners on safety. I think there are sometimes kind of unrealistic expectations about a vaccine. A vaccine is not going to bring a fairy tale ending to this pandemic. And the fact that we are going to get there in fits and starts, we're going to try to figure out what works, and we're going to be completely transparent about what we're finding, that's reassuring.
Even though it's reassuring, Dr. Frieden, do you worry that it might not be, that people will see these headlines and they've already been skeptical about how fast this is all happening, how politicized in some ways it's gotten, and be reluctant to take the vaccine even more so than they were?
Well, we've clearly got a problem with trust. For a vaccine to work, it doesn't only have to be safe and effective, it also has to be trusted. And you've got a lot of people right now who are very suspicious of the vaccine. I think as we get more information, we'll know more. People say, would you take a vaccine? If you asked me, I said, well, it depends what the data shows. So I think as time goes on, we'll learn more. The first past the post is not likely to be the best vaccine. We're going to need a way to try to determine which vaccines are better for which people. And we do have hope that we're going to have a safe and effective vaccine. But we also have to recognize a vaccine isn't going to take COVID off the table. We're still going to need to adapt our lives. We're going to need to reduce risk. We're going to need to find cases and clusters. And for the next foreseeable future, masks are in and handshakes are out. A vaccine is really important, and treatment is really important. Things that may be able to reduce the risk of death, like the old tried and true medication, steroids or dexamethasone, that reduces death by about a third in severely ill people. So we're chipping away at this risk, but there's no one-shot cure for it.
Have you been encouraged by the quality of the antibody treatments? And does that in fact mean that a vaccine is less crucial, particularly when talking about the younger population, the less exposed population?
Well, antibody treatments are not easy. They're hard to scale up. They have to be given quite early, so in no way do they replace a vaccine. We don't even know if they work yet, and we've also seen a potential safety signal on an antibody treatment, and there are some adverse events from antibody treatments. So for all of these things, science moves slowly. Science doesn't respond to spin. It takes time, and the more we learn, the better we can protect people. But it's important not to lose sight of some of the basics. We know right now what we can do to drive cases way down. Reduce spread with the 3 W's, wear a mask, watch your distance, and wash your hands, and then mop up cases and clusters with rapid testing, rapid isolation, complete contact tracing, and quarantine.
Dr. Frieden, the other sort of scary headline today had to do with this Nevada man who was the first real U.S. case that contracted COVID-19 for a second time, at least over a month after he had the first one. It was described in Lancet, apparently 2 different strains. What does that tell us about immunity, and what does it tell us about potential efficacy of a vaccine if there's so many strains out there?
The first thing it tells us is we still have a lot to learn. It's been clear for a few months now that reinfection definitely does happen. That wasn't known before. Now there are a handful of cases from around the world which are really well documented, where they do the genetic fingerprinting of the virus and they do it again later, and they determine that they couldn't have been the same virus. So you've got 2 different attacks on that one person, both of them successful. Now, whether that's common or rare, we don't know. So all that we can conclude is that some people do get some level of immunity that lasts for some time. That's pretty vague. We don't know if it's most people, nearly all people, relatively few people. We don't know how good the immunity is or how long it lasts. But the fact that there is immunity gives us grounds for guarded optimism that a vaccine may well be able to be found that is safe and effective for at least some time.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.